Mr. Stanton, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Until the COVID pandemic, most people gave little thought to the various levels of the supply chain that got the goods they needed and wanted delivered to their homes or nearest store. Today, the supply chain, the bottlenecks, the increased prices is the topic of many conversations in Arizona and throughout the country. Everyone, shippers, transporters, workers, businesses, and consumers, is feeling the impacts caused by the disruption, a disruption unlike anything we have seen in recent times. Cargo ships docked off the coast of California in traffic jam, waiting for the chance to unload has become a common sight, along with ports packed with containers. Each level of supply chain has been affected. For those businesses fortunate enough to receive the goods they have ordered, they've had no choice but to adjust accordingly to account for the delays in shipping and associated storage costs that have increased dramatically. Bottom line, consumers are feeling the impacts of prices, straining already tight budgets many families are facing. There's not just one cause of this disruption. It is a perfect storm. A global pandemic that shut down factories that produce goods for the U.S. market, a further reduction in the number of seagoing routes and vessels to deliver cargo, and a surge in consumer spending on durable goods that caused a spike in shipping demand, among other causes as well. The short-term challenge is untangling the stranglehold this disruption currently has on the supply chain, but at the same time, we can't take our focus off of long-term solutions to secure the supply chain and ensure its resiliency going forward. I did have a series of questions for Mr. Cordero. Fortunately, he was not able to stay for the hearing. I'll ask that those questions be answered in writing for the record, but I will ask a question for Mr. Regan. I know he's answered similar questions previously, but please take the time to answer it again. What steps do you believe industry should be taking to provide better resiliency in the supply chain?
Thank you for the question. Frankly, I think investing in the workforce is going to be a critical part of that. We need to expand capacity, and that means making sure that we have the personnel to be able to do that as well. I think that's true in every aspect of the supply chain. Also, building out in their physical infrastructure, and I know the government is going to make a very large investment to help with some of that, but making sure that we have the equipment that we need, so that we can expand the workforce and do it safely is going to be really important here.
Thank you, and I have a little bit of additional time, so I'll open up that same question to any of the other members of the panel. What steps should industry be taking to provide better resiliency in the supply chain?
I think, Congressman, the collaboration we've been alluding to throughout this hearing is very important amongst the modes. And you've seen this transformation over the last 10, 15 years where we do collaborate more. Ian and I have been going back and forth in terms of the relationship between trucking and rail. It's grown stronger as a result of the integration of the supply chain. And, we're one of rail's biggest customers now. We're a partner. We also really need a lot more transparency across all modes. And I think, as we referred in the previous commentary about digital transformation, that will really be key in terms of better visibility on where the choke points are, better coordination, better throughput. Even if we don't have the workforce that we need, increasing turns, for instance, is going to elevate and increase capacity, and you don't need more drivers to do that. So these efficiencies really are measurable, and they'll also help alleviate the driver shortage. So these are all things that I think are key amongst that collaboration.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Any of the other witnesses want to give advice on that question? What can we do to better provide resiliency, please?
I think just sustained investment is key. We didn't get here overnight, and in order to work out long-term solutions, freight demand is only going to continue to grow in this country. I know we're seeing unprecedented demand right now on the international space in particular, but freight demand is going to continue to grow. Between maximizing the use of the infrastructure we have with sustained investments, utilizing technology to make that use more efficient, increasing safety, obviously dedication to having well-skilled, well-trained employee bases in our respective sectors. It's an all-the-above strategy that requires a lot of coordination and absolutely visibility and information sharing across the supply chain is kind of the link to keep all of us together.
Congressman, if I could, I'll just go back
Please.
to the 3 I's that I said at the beginning of my testimony, which is investment, innovation, and interaction amongst all the modes and stakeholders in the supply chain. I think all of us are doubling our efforts to invest as much as we can, to innovate as much as we can, and you can see how well I think we're collaborating across on this panel.
Thank you for those outstanding answers. I'll yield back.